Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll with Artark. As we race towards the end of this season, it is time to find the builds and the ways to climb to hyper tier before it's all said and done, and we're into set 8. Now, I have made no secret of this, but I find Cavalier Swiftshot to be an absolutely excellent build with one small problem. It's really hard to carry it through to a win in the end. I find I will often, if I just stick with Cavalier Swiftshot, go out 5th, 6th, sometimes get into the top 4, but not often win. But it will be a great bridge into other things, and this is one of those other things. Since I had a Sejuani and an Ezreal, that's the way I was going, and if I get a chance to grab new recruit, yeah, I'm going to grab it because having that additional player is going to help a lot. I was originally going to put out just the second Ezreal, but I go ahead and grab a Kiana, so now I'm able to also trigger Tempest as I go along. I'm able to get 2 Cavaliers, and I only have 1 Swiftshot at this point. Was not able to find the Twitch I would love to find, but Kiana serving as Tempest helps a lot. That little bit of stun will give us a little extra time to be able to finish off and start strong. For our first item choice, I love champion duplicators, but I really don't know exactly which way this is going yet or what I'm going to need. So there's the other part of me that says I love making static shivs on this particular build. Usually I put it on Twitch, but it's just so disruptive to backlines, and especially with Tempest, I think this could be really fun. Just a general note, if you are going Dark Flight, don't start with a sacrifice early unless you have an amazing item, because you only then have 2 players on the board and they're going to go down really fast. The thing I usually like about the Cavalier Swiftshot, although I can hardly call this Swiftshot at this point since we haven't found the second, is the fast start you're going to get. You usually end up winning a lot early, so it enables you to focus on other things later on. For next item, I still have a bow and I see the chance to get another tier, so I'm thinking, hey, why not go for the shock and awe type thing that I've done before, where I just load up on static shivs. Now, I'm not necessarily going to make it, but I like leaving myself the option. And now I see the person taking up all my swift shots, but they only have 1 Cavalier, and this is where I find the static shiv very useful. It reduces down the health of their backline while my front line is doing its job and enables me to win. It's time for our second augment, and it's an easy choice. Thrill of the Hunt 700. If I see it, there are usually exceptional circumstances that'll keep me from grabbing it, but I've kind of reached an awkward moment in this game because I still haven't found my second Swiftshot. So instead of Swiftshot Cavalier, we have Cavaliers and then Gold Ezreal with Static Shiv. But who am I to argue, because this is actually working. The Cavaliers are tanky enough to hold things up, and that Static Shiv is just wreaking havoc on the board. Headed into 6-2, and we still have not found a second Swiftshot. So as you can see, the board is just a lot of Sejuanis, a Lilia, and a Rel, but we need to make an item choice, and nothing here is really jumping out as a great choice, so I go ahead and grab the Sparring Glove, and then finally am able to get a second Swiftshot. And I'd love to say that finding that cute little rat suddenly changed the course of the game and everything was different, but yeah, we're so far doing really well, and we continue doing really well. Our Cavaliers are jamming them up, our Swiftshots are doing the damage. Well, now I can make it plural. And I just want to mention a little positioning tip here. You may notice that I have Sejuani now starting behind the other group of Cavaliers, and that's because I have the Sunfire Cape on her, and she will then stay alive a little bit longer and be able to set fire to more people. And it is time for our final augment, and normally Portable Forge is just my go-to here, but since I already have a Static Shiv, and I have the makings of another Static Shiv, and this will give me another Static Shiv, I can't resist the ability to just go full shock on this team. Now, you may have noticed that I've started to pick up Tempests at the bottom of the screen. Now, the reason for this is, as I've said before, I've run Swiftshot Cavaliers a lot, and I tend to find that while they are strong early and will carry you just sort of like this, where you're doing 20 and you're not losing any games, they start falling off, and once they do, it's just off a cliff. So I like to make a backup plan, but now we are on to Treasure Dragon time, and no. I mean, it just doesn't work with our theme of shock and awe. Nor does this. The Zonia's Paradox is good, but nothing that I really need on this team. What I want is something that's going to fit with what I'm currently doing or will expand it. Dragonmancer Emblem is always nice, but we're not really doing that. Same thing, Guardian Emblem. But that is much more tempting. Pun intended. I decided to make Twitch into a Tempest because I really do plan on keeping him, and then I run into the other Cavalier Swiftshot team that's always going to exist in every lobby, because that's what happens, and this one is going to be really, really close. The thrill of the hunt keeps me in it until the last possible second, but not quite enough to get through that final Twitch. But don't worry. Gary's got my back, and he's going to give me an Ao Shin. So, this is the pivot time. We walk away from the full Cavalier Swiftshots, and are now switching over to Tempest Cavalier Swiftshots. We are up to our penultimate item choice, and I decide that the key to this is going to be Ao Shin casting, which I want to happen as soon as possible, because when Ao Shin casts, teams die. So I'm going to give Ao Shin the ability to cast as fast as possible. I've also put Lee Sin out front, and I'm planning on bringing in Graves as soon as possible. I put the additional static shiv on Ezreal because he's lasting most of the fights. We're not facing any real assassin team, so he doesn't seem to be in danger, but the key is still going to be when Ao Shin casts, teams die. You will notice I am holding my gold, and that's because I want the best chance of getting a 2-star Ao Shin and also a 2-star Graves in the next round. I'm just hoping to hold on through this. I know, though, when Ao Shin casts, yeah, And that cast was enough to take us into the top 4. We did manage to 2-star the Graves and also pick up a 2-star Hecarim, but it's time for our final item choice. And nothing here is super jumping out at us, but Giant Slayer will certainly help against high health teams. We're going to end up replacing one of our Cavaliers with the 2-star Hecarim, but we are really searching for that 2-star Ao Shin. I've also picked up a Terra just in case I can get Terra up to 2 stars. And there is our 2-star Ao Shin, and in all reality, at that moment, it really does seal the victory. And here is our Cavalier Swiftshot team from earlier that has now pivoted over to Guild Swiftshot, but you know what? It's really not going to matter because something's going to happen that's going to end their chances. Yeah, Ao Shin casts. Then we get a chance to pick up a 2-star Terra. Now that can change everything because we're going to have to give up 2 champions on the board, which are going to be Hecarim and Rel. So we are exchanging the Cavaliers as our front line for the power that Terra brings. With a Tempest, it's going to be worth it. And if you had any questions, let's see how we do against a Ragewing Shyvana team, which can often be incredibly strong due to the Omnivamp that they get, and the fact that she has a Bloodthirster should help out, but Ao Shin casted. And just like that, the game is down to 2 people. Now remember, and this is important, 2 teams started off as Cavalier Swiftshot. It was me and this team. This team has pivoted over to Guild Swiftshot. I pivoted over to Tempest Swiftshot. And I have seen this pattern repeated in many, many games. Cavalier Swiftshot starts off really, really strong, but the pivot, it's what's going to get you there. Look back here for a moment, but it's time for Shin to cast and wipe the whole team. Now, is this the only way to get into the top 2 or top 4? No, absolutely not. There are lots of builds that can do it, but starting off with the Cavalier Swiftshot and then pivoting over to what the game is letting you do, that is key. And again, Shin will cast, and the team will die. And it becomes GG for everyone. Hope you enjoyed this video and that it helps you on your road to hyper. And as always, hope you have an absolutely, absolutely awesome day.